Daniel had a bright future in sports. Then at 16, a skiing accident destroyed that future. Daniel had a skiing accident and it was bad. Doctors said he could never play football again.
He can no longer play any sports. He's done. Because if he breaks his back, he will be paralyzed.
Yo, what's up, guys? We got another video. Today we're watching the most horrible people in gaming history. Now, I don't know what this is about. I know people can get pretty wily in the various corners of the internet, especially like, you know, within the gaming communities. People were always talking about, oh, gaming makes you violent. No, not really. But there are some people that play games that are already naturally violent. So let's not conflate the two. But we are going to take a look at some of those people here. So if you're interested in watching this, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe to both me and Visual Venture. And let's go ahead and get into this. Yeah? Let's go. I was about to do the outro thing.
A new Oxford University study is reigniting questions about whether violent video games make people violent.
Police were first alerted
I knew that was going to be the
by
point.
members of an
I knew that was going
online
to be a
gaming
point.
community.
The suspect posted about the alleged crimes to the multiplayer
Now they
adventure
might
fantasy
enhance
game
people's like.
Perfect World Void, which included pictures.
I'm already pausing early into the video. Now there is a point that I could make for like it depends on the person themselves, because it can go one of two ways, right? Depending on the person who's actually playing them. It can, if they, you know, get drawn to playing certain games, it could, if they're that type of person, lead them to keep playing more and more games like that and be more accustomed to like said violence, like depending on how real it is, and like, you know, could like accustom them to certain violent acts and tendencies and things like that, which could very well manifest in the real world. But alternatively, there's also an argument that says, hey, you know, that could be an outlet for somebody's like anger or like tendencies and things like that. And they go and they play a violent video game. And so through that, they don't end up manifesting that energy into the real world. So, yeah. There's multiple parts to it. That's how I see it. I did a whole paper on this back in college, if I remember correctly.
As one of the most violent and gruesome video games ever produced for a mass market.
People often say video games distract kids from school, but can games push someone to kill? Today we'll look at gamers who turned violent. As usual, we'll start with the lighter cases and end with the most disturbing ones. So my goal this year, guys, is to give you guys double the amount of videos without sacrificing quality. And to do that, we gotta keep growing. It would mean the absolute world if you subscribe, and I promise I will do my very best to make the best videos I possibly can for you guys. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. Tyler Barris. Tyler Barris had a twisted sense of humor. He loved to scare people by making false device threats. He would dial 911, claim that there was a device in a mall, a school, or another crowded place. This type of prank is called swatting. It's when someone calls the police about a bogus crime to get them to go to someone's house. Obviously, swatting is reckless, illegal, and deadly. By the time he was 25, Tyler had a long record. He was wanted for 30 device threats plus fraud and mischief charges, but he stayed on the run, avoiding the police again and again. Then came December of 2017. Tyler was living on the streets of Los Angeles, California, and a gamer friend asked him for a favor, one that would cost an innocent man his life. The friend who needed a favor was a gamer called Viner. Viner was furious. He was in the middle of an online argument with another Call of Duty player. They traded insults online. Then Viner threatened to confront the player in person. The other player called his bluff. He sent an address and wrote, "Please, try something. I'll be waiting."
Yo, he dropped the Addy.
Viner reached out to Tyler. Everyone knew Tyler was the
dropping
best
the Addy
at
is
making
crazy.
swatting calls. So Tyler handed him the address and told him to do his thing. Tyler grabbed his phone and dialed 911. Tyler pretended to be a deranged man holding his mom and brother hostage. He claimed he would burn the house down. Then he gave the police the address, daring them to stop him. The cops didn't hesitate. They jumped into their cars and raced to the address. But there was one problem. Tyler and Viner thought they were sending police to the gamer they fought with, but they were tricked. In reality, the gamer gave them the wrong address. That address actually belonged to Andrew Finch, an ordinary man with no connection to the fight at all.
Yo.
Andrew had no idea that armed officers were racing to his home to stop a
Yo.
non-existent hostage situation. But the night was about to turn deadly. Around 5 p.m., police arrived
that's
at
crazy.
Andrew's home.
Completely unaware of that 911 call, 28-year-old Andrew Finch opened his front door.
Andrew stepped outside and saw armed officers pointed at him. To the police, Andrew was the 911 caller holding his family hostage. To Andrew, nothing made sense. Officers ordered him to raise his hands, but Andrew didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. He hesitated, then lowered his arms. That's when the police did the unthinkable. Andrew was rushed to the hospital. Sadly, he didn't survive. When police searched the home, they discovered the truth. Andrew wasn't the caller. There was no hostage situation.
Crazy,
Andrew Finch
bro.
became the first person to lose their life in a swatting call. The case
Swatting?
made
He got
national
clapped for
headlines.
SWAT
Investigators
over a
knew
swatting
it was a
beef?
swatting call, and they were
Heck
determined to
no.
find the culprit. Tyler saw the story
Heck
on the news.
no,
He
bro.
realized that his prank ended up
That's
in his life,
crazy.
But instead of showing remorse, he decided to brag about it. Tyler tweeted, "That kid's house that I swatted is on the news." That single post made
That's
it easy
crazy.
for the police to track him down. Tyler was arrested on
get that,
December
bro.
29th, just
Bro,
one
get
day
outta
after
here, bro.
Andrew lost his life.
Go to
A
jail,
judge
bro.
sentenced
You've
him to
lost your
20 years
privileges.
in prison. But Tyler wasn't
Yeah,
the
go to
only one
jail,
held
bro.
responsible.
You got a
Remember the
guy
mysterious
killed
Call
over
of
this,
Duty
bro.
player
Not
who
only
gave
did
the
you do it
fake
30
address?
times.
His name was Shane. He was tracked down and sentenced to 18 months in prison for his role. This next case is about a streamer who made a terrible mistake on a live stream. Staz Reflay. Staz Reflay wasn't satisfied with life as a gamer. The problem was money. Staz launched his YouTube channel in 2014. He did live streams playing Call of Duty and other games, hoping to make it big as a gamer. It didn't take long for him to get frustrated. He wasn't making enough money from gaming, so Staz pivoted. He joined a trend called trash streaming. Trash streams weren't about fun. They were about humiliation. Here's how it worked. The streamer would go live, often surrounded by friends. Then viewers donate money to make them perform dares. It sounds playful until you realize the dares can be anything. Some dares were silly, like throwing food. Others were
People gotta know their
dangerous
limits.
or degrading. One dare asked
People gotta
a
set their
streamer to marry
boundaries,
someone
man. But I
alive.
guess like
The
he
streamer
was
did it.
his boundaries
Another
were money,
streamer burnt down a house
so he didn't
just
have any
because they
boundaries.
were dared to. The rule was simple: if a viewer paid, the streamer had to obey. The more extreme
Exactly.
the dare, the higher.
Yeah, his
the
boundaries
donation.
were money.
Technically, streamers could refuse dares, but refusing meant they wouldn't make money, and they could lose their audience. The biggest trash streamers had millions of subscribers on YouTube. For Staz, trash streaming was a gold mine, but instead of sticking to goofy dares, he crossed into cruelty. His streams often featured him harassing homeless people or getting violent.
This is what
with
happens
friends
when
on
people
camera.
don't learn how to like how to spend their own money, the money that they get, to make more money, how to properly invest it and stuff like that. Because it's like there's a certain amount of money that like you can get, and then you use it, and it serves your purposes, and it's not the number people think a lot of the times, because if you're smart about it, you can always get away with getting more for less. But like that's what I talk about when I talk about like trading and investing and things like that. Just any and like taking advantage of like price drops and things like that. Just being fiscally responsible, right? And not buying a bunch of stupid crap. But like he's a young dude. He's never had success. He's lazy probably. He just wants to make money gaming and have all these cool cars. Cool, right? I get it. You don't really have a head on your shoulders. You just have bright eyes and a dream. Okay? So like he's the type of dude that's gonna do anything for a buck. I get that. But that's one thing that I've been working to kind of, you know, to rein in with like some of the books and stuff that I've been writing, is like, okay, yes, you can do the things that you want to do, but you do not have to sell your soul to do it, and you don't have to like just be all gung-ho, like do whatever for money. You don't have to do all that. You don't. And I wish a lot of people knew that. I wish a lot more people realized that and knew the techniques and strategies that they could use to do that. So that was a little aside. That was a long aside, but yeah, that's just what goes on in my head sometimes.
camera. For the right donation, there was nothing Staz wouldn't do. His behavior became so extreme that other streamers stopped working with him, but fans rewarded the cruelty. Donations poured in. Viewers demanded more inappropriate acts. Soon, they wanted Staz
You might
to
as well
target
go to the
his
dark
own
web at this point.
girlfriend, Valentina. Valentina
His
first
girlfriend?
appeared on Staz's
Oh, no.
streams in the summer of 2020.
Toxic
At times,
relationship?
they looked like they really love each other, like the
Boy.
perfect couple. Other times, it seemed like they hated each other. They constantly fought on camera. Staz would yell at Valentina, insulting her in front of thousands. The audience noticed, so they pushed Staz to be more aggressive with her. They paid
Excuse
money
me.
to see
What?
her. Viewers dared Staz
They
to
paid
throw
him
eggs
to,
at her.
like,
He did. They
DV
paid
her?
him to pepper spray her. He did. The dares escalated into things too disturbing
What?
to describe. By September 2020, Valentina had enough. She reported
Oh,
Staz to
nah.
the police, but no serious
Yeah,
action
get
was
this
taken.
guy outta
Even
here,
then,
bro.
Valentina kept showing up for Staz's live streams.
She kept
Every
showing
time
up?
she appeared,
He was giving her money.
donations poured in because
Yeah,
viewers
he was
loved
giving her
paying
money.
Staz to harass her. Then one night,
Wow.
Staz agreed to a dare that
And
would
'cause
haunt
she was
him
probably pretty.
forever. It was the night of December 2nd, 2020. Staz was streaming with Valentina and his friend Marina. At some point, Marina left. Now Staz and Valentina were alone on camera. Then a viewer offered $1,000 for Staz to lock Valentina outside. The request was insane because it was winter. The temperature was between 17 degrees to 26
Oh, heck
degrees
nah.
Fahrenheit. That's below
You have to do it safe.
freezing. But $1,000 was too much to resist. So live on stream,
Bruh.
Staz forced Valentina to go out on the balcony. Valentina knocked on the door, but Staz ignored her. Eventually, the
For how
knocking
long?
stopped. Staz finally opened the door to check on her. She wasn't
For how
moving.
long?
Staz panicked.
Bro.
Instead of calling an ambulance, he turned back to his viewers. For 2 hours, Staz kept streaming. When he
There's
finally
no
called
way.
for help, paramedics confirmed Valentina was gone. He was arrested.
There's
and
no
sentenced to
way.
6 years in a maximum security
Yeah,
prison.
bruh.
This next gamer destroyed his life for a
What are you
ridiculous
doing?
reason. Menhaz Zaman. Menhaz Zaman's
my
parents didn't just encourage him to get good grades, they demanded it. Menhaz grew up in Canada, but his parents were immigrants from Bangladesh. They were strict about everything, but most of all, they wanted
That was
Menhaz
crazy.
to
Your
do
own
well in
girlfriend,
school
bro?
and become an engineer. For context, academic
Like, I get you
achievement
want
is a
money,
huge
bro,
deal
but,
in
like,
Bangladeshi culture.
That's what I really wish, like, I really wish people weren't so dependent on money all the time, man. Like, people literally are worsening their quality of life and other people's quality of life around them just to get a little bit of money, bro. Because, like, that's a system that's been established. That sucks, bro. I really don't like that. I really don't like that.
Failing school isn't just personal. It can bring shame to the entire family. For Menhaz, the pressure was suffocating. In 2015, he gave his parents the news they wanted to hear. He told them he was accepted into York University, one of Canada's top colleges. They were thrilled.
Of course, Monrose and Momotaz were extremely pleased to hear the news, and this solidified his position as the golden child of the family.
Yeah, Menhaz was the golden child of the family, the obedient, respectful, and studious son. But the
Incoming
truth
trauma.
was far more embarrassing. Menhaz lied to his family. He didn't get admitted to York University. His grades weren't good enough. But Menhaz couldn't bear to disappoint his
failed,
parents.
bro.
So he
So he
lied and
kept.
quietly enrolled at a lesser-known college. Even at this easier school, he struggled. He failed his classes and eventually dropped out. Now he
Dang.
wasn't attending college at all. Still, the lie continued. He couldn't face his
You gonna be a
parents and
scammer
admit
now?
failure. Each morning, Menhaz's parents watched him leave the house. They thought he was heading to campus. In reality, he was wandering through shopping malls or worked out at the gym. When he wasn't doing that, he was online playing a game called Perfect World. He also spent hours chatting on the game's Discord server. But lies can't last forever. A college degree takes 3 or 4 years. Soon, the day Menhaz was supposed to graduate arrived. July 28th, 2019. Menhaz began to spiral. At this point, most people would come clean, but this was a secret he wanted to keep at any cost. So instead of disappointing his parents, he decided to
What do you do?
end them. The day before the
What?
graduation, Menhaz sent this message on the Discord gaming server. Gonna end my parents and go to jail. You know? Other players brushed it off.
That
Menhaz
was
known
the-
for crude, offensive jokes.
my
but
gosh.
this wasn't a joke. Minutes later, he posted photos of his lifeless family. Still, people
Whoa!
didn't buy it.
In the beginning, other users weren't really sure as to whether or not they should even
What?
believe him. It seemed a lot more likely that he probably just pulled the picture off of a
Oh
website
my
somewhere and was
gosh.
trolling them.
Someone tried reverse image searching the picture. Nothing came up. It
Can't.
seemed the photos were real. The chat
Yo.
erupted in chaos. Members scrambled to figure out who Menhaz really was. But all they had was his handle.
What?
No real name, no address, no way to stop him. Meanwhile, Menhaz kept typing. He wrote, "It's been my plan for 3 years. Literally told my parents my uni graduation was July 28th. I couldn't have delayed it any longer." Then he made a mistake. He logged back into the Perfect World game. That login exposed his IP address. An IP address is like a digital footprint.
Thank you. Get this guy out of here, bro.
Device's location.
Really?
Admins
All that because you don't
narrowed
want to...
Menhaz's location down to Toronto. But Toronto is a massive city with millions of residents. Then Menhaz posted another update. He told the server his father and sister weren't home yet. When they arrived, he planned to do the same to them too. This was no longer a confession. It was a crime in progress. Discord users scrambled to track him down, but his sister and father came home first. And unfortunately, it was too late. Then Menhaz slipped up again. He offered to send money to the group members. It was his way of saying thanks for being there for
I want to reward
for
you
their
guys.
PayPal addresses.
Ain't no
he
way,
actually
bro.
sent some of them cash. That transfer finally cracked his identity. It revealed his name. Police
Get him out of here,
immediately. Officers surrounded his home.
When we got to the front door of the house, that's where we confronted the man, that 23-year-old man who's now in custody.
Before they entered, Menhaz typed one final Discord message. "The police are here. Goodbye." At the trial, Menhaz pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole until age 64. This next gamer couldn't tell the difference between reality and games.
That's so crazy, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. He murked them? Over just telling them? Honestly, like, I've seen some of the levels that, like, a lot of, like, Asian parents will go to like, keep their kids, like, you're gonna be the number one in the school, right? So I can imagine that he was growing up that way, especially if, like, people was like, oh, he's the golden child of the family. I could easily see that trauma catching up with him at a young age by, like, not being fully developed in the brain, not being fully, like, integrated into, like, well, how do I say this? Compassionate or like emotional society in a way. Maybe there's some underlying mental illness too that played into it. I don't know. But, like, I can definitely see that, like, that's not that crazy. It's crazy to hear, but looking at the situation that he grew up in, I can see it. That's the craziest part. That's the scary part. I'm not saying what he did was right, but, like, that's the type of stuff that I like to look at and say, hey, this is why you should not be raising your kids like this. You're going to raise monsters, bro. You're actually going to raise monsters. I get that you want them to be successful, but they're also people. And you cannot raise them like they're not. Crazy work, bro. Crazy work.
In 2003, Devin Moore was just 20, but his life was already filled with problems. His childhood was brutal. His father forced him to work long hours and punished him harshly. There was no love in the home. Over time, Devin grew to hate his father. Despite everything, he tried to rise above it.
He got daddy
had no
issues,
criminal
that's
record and earned straight A's in school. He was even accepted into the U.S. Air Force. He was due to leave for service at the end of the summer in 2003. But the problems at home wore him down. Devin spent more and more time locked in his bedroom. There, he spent hours playing video games. His favorite was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. GTA Vice City was notorious when it came out in 2002. Players could steal cars, attack pedestrians, and even end cops. It was so wildly violent, the parents tried to have it banned. For Devin, the game became an escape from his problems. Over time, that escape turned into an obsession. Combined with his unresolved childhood issues, Devin started to lose touch with reality. He began to zone out or retreat into his own little world. Sometimes people could talk to Devin for extended periods, but he would remember none of it. The mix of isolation and violence became a recipe for disaster. That disaster happened in June 2003. Around 3 a.m., police found Devin asleep in a car. It looked suspicious, so they ran the plates. The car was stolen. Devin was arrested, but he insisted he was innocent. He claimed he bought the car for $500. Still, officers brought him in for questioning. At the station, Devin seemed calm, but the calm didn't last. An officer removed Devin's handcuffs to take fingerprints. Then it happened.
Then suddenly, inexplicably, Moore snapped.
Devin grabbed the officer's weapon and fired. 2 officers were hit. Devin then ran through the station and found another officer.
Playing GTA in real life?
He did the same to him too. In less than a minute, 3 officers were gone. Then Devin acted out something straight from GTA. He stole a car.
Along the way, Moore had grabbed a set of car keys.
He went out the door to the
Wow.
parking lot, jumped into a police cruiser, and took off.
But this wasn't a game. Police caught him within hours. When arrested, Devin showed no remorse. Instead, he said,
That's crazy.
life is like a video game. You gotta end sometimes. Devin went to trial, but his defense team tried to explain the violence. They blamed Devin's actions on playing video games from the Grand Theft Auto series, in which players shoot police officers and steal cars. Interestingly, the crime mirrored stuff he did in the game.
He
When
was
the media heard that, they ran with
like,
it.
Devin Moore was, in effect, trained to do what he did.
Bruh, come on. I get the point. I do. But he had other issues way before he picked up that game. That game was an escape for him initially. And it was a way to act out that stuff.
Given a murder simulator.
There were headlines like GTA made me do it.
He just needed help before
not
then.
Guilty by reason of
He needed some therapy. He needed some good people around him. He needed some, like, a solid, like, caring, loving household. You know what I mean? He just needed more stuff around him, I feel like, before it got to that point.
Mental defect. His defense argued that his abusive childhood and obsession with GTA caused him to enter a dissociative state when he committed the crime. But the jury didn't accept it. They decided Devin knew exactly what he was doing. He was given the ultimate punishment, injection. This next case is about a gamer who would go to any length to play
What
his
does that
favorite
mean?
game.
What is
Daniel
injection?
Petrick. Can violent video games affect a child's behavior? Daniel Petrick's parents thought they could. They set a strict rule for all their kids: no violent video games. 15-year-old Daniel was fine with his parents' ban on violent games. He was more interested in sports. He spent most of his time outdoors playing football. He even made the town's football team.
He played tailback for Wellington and was
Sounds
a
like he's
defensive
well on his way.
linebacker, and he was top notch.
Daniel had a bright future in sports. Then at 16, a skiing accident destroyed that future. Daniel had a skiing accident and it was bad. Doctors said he could never play football again.
He can no longer play any sports. He's done. Because if he breaks his back, he will be paralyzed.
Daniel was crushed. He needed time to heal, and he could not play the sport he loved. During recovery, he did something
that's so
he wasn't
sad.
supposed to. He started playing violent video games in secret. He began with games like Call of Duty and Gears of War. Then he discovered Halo. Halo was rated M for mature because it contained violence. It was exactly the kind of game Daniel's parents hated. He became obsessed. Some days he played for 8 hours straight. When Halo 3 released, Daniel snuck out to buy it. His mother caught him with the game on the way home. His parents were furious.
We told him, even though you spent some $70 on this game, you're not playing it and you're not getting it back.
Daniel's dad took the game and
At that
locked it
point,
in
they
the
might as
safe
well just
at
return
home.
it to
His
the store.
parents, it was discipline. To Daniel, it was unfair. On October
Just return it to the
13th,
store,
Daniel
bro.
got
Get the
into
money
a
back.
heated argument with his father about Halo. The fight escalated until his
But still,
father
honestly,
snapped.
that's not
Stopped
gonna
playing
solve the problem. I'm not gonna lie, it's not gonna solve the problem. But still, like, it's something different. But I'm not gonna tell people how to run their households.
Early
Yeah,
at
I
the house.
care.
Daniel chose to leave. He spent the weekend at a friend's house. There, they played Halo for 16 to
That's
18
really it.
hours
I'm just
a
gonna
day,
talk.
stopping
I'm just gonna
only to
talk.
eat, sleep, and use the bathroom. But Daniel couldn't stay there
Yo.
forever. When Daniel returned home, his anger toward his parents was deeper than ever. That anger was about to explode.
Hey,
Daniel's
yo.
copy of Halo was still locked inside his father's safe, so he spent the next week searching for the key. Eventually, he found it. When Daniel opened the safe, he retrieved his game, but there was something else inside, a weapon. The dark idea formed in his mind. That night, Daniel was alone in the house with his parents.
Now, around 7 p.m., Daniel Petrick walks up behind his parents. They're just sitting on the couch together.
Whoa, there's no
Guys,
way.
close your eyes. I have a surprise for you. His parents closed their eyes, and Daniel ended them. After his horrible crime, Daniel tried to cover his tracks. He put the item in his father's hand to make it look like his father did it. The plan failed. Daniel's sister and her husband came home just in time. They walked in, saw the scene, and called 911. When his sister showed up, Daniel panicked. He ran out of the house and fled in the family van. He only took one item with him, the Halo 3 game. Daniel's mom didn't survive, but his father
That guy
did.
just wanted to play
I was in the
Halo,
hospital
bro.
for, I think, 30 days.
Nah,
They
something
did
else would have
5
triggered him if
surgeries
it
on
wasn't
me.
that.
From his hospital bed,
He was
Daniel's
just
dad
mentally
told
unstable,
investigators
bro.
what really happened. Police tracked
Like,
Daniel down.
I could see that one because, like, he felt like he probably lost everything, right? Cause like that was what he loved. He loved sports, and then he like couldn't play sports, and then even then when he couldn't play sports, the one thing that he tried to find salvation in was like violent video games, and his parents was like, nah. So he probably felt like he had no place to go, no like salvation, no place to decompress, no place to blow off steam, right? So he was just done after a period of time, I would have to imagine. That's one of those things that needs to be addressed when it comes to dealing with stressors in life, and like having outlets for different desires and different like forms of energy. Like, how do you express anger in a safe way? How do you alchemize anger in a safe way that doesn't end up harming you or others, right? Or frustration, how do you get those, how do you process those emotions without negative channels? And that game could have been one of them for him, but he wasn't allowed that. And it just so happens that because he wasn't allowed other stuff probably, and the fact that he's young, he's not quite developed enough, it just reached a tipping point way faster and way more like deadly than it probably would have had he had other tools in his toolkit. That's tough.
And arrested him. Even
That's
in
tough.
handcuffs, Daniel tried to blame his father. People couldn't
Nah,
believe it. A kid
you
did
can't
all
blame his
this
father,
because
bro.
they took his game away.
It's you,
At
bro.
trial, Daniel's lawyers argued
It's
his
literally
gaming
you.
addiction.
Like, I'll give it to you. Like, he didn't have a good setup. He didn't have a good situation. But at the end of the day, that's still you, bro. You did not have to do that. There were other things that you could have done before that. 100%. That's all you.
Warped his sense of reality. In other words, he didn't know what he was doing. The court rejected the insanity defense. Daniel was sentenced to 23 years in prison with the possibility of parole. What happens when you mix dangerous substances with one of the most violent games ever made? Trouble. Warren LeBlanc. This is a story of two friends who bonded over their love of video games, but the games they played may have influenced one of them to take the other's life. The friends were Warren LeBlanc and Stefan Pokira. Warren was 17 and Stefan was 14. They spent hours together at Stefan's house playing games. Their favorite game was Manhunt.
He's being described as one of the most violent and gruesome video games ever produced for a mass market. It is so violent, in fact, that it was banned.
Manhunt rewarded brutality. The more vicious the execution, the higher the score. The violence was graphic and detailed. For Stefan, it was just a game, but Manhunt was affecting Warren in ways no one could see. Reports say Warren
like when it comes to stuff like that, like I've never been a fan of gore and like very accurate depictions of like just the horrible aspects of like what can happen when you like do something to someone's body, right? I've never been a fan of that stuff, and I've especially not been a fan of it when it's in such great detail, and in games and stuff like that. Like, it's one thing like with the whole like Mortal Kombat thing, like I've seen that, like that I never liked that stuff. But like the game itself was fun. Like the finishers outside of like all that stuff that happened in there, the game itself was fun. But like, would I go to a game wanting to see all the gore and stuff like that? Not really. If it's in there, I see it. I don't necessarily like it. And I also don't like it for like the young kids and stuff, because I feel like it desensitizes them to stuff that like, they shouldn't really be exposed to at that age. Especially because their brains are still developing, and like they're developing like not only mentally, they're developing emotionally and stuff like that. And when you like start to see stuff like that, and it's like, yo, you're just getting so desensitized to it at such a crucial developmental stage, it's just not a good recipe for it. It's just not a good recipe for it. I'm not gonna lie. There's tons of fun stuff. I enjoyed so many other games that were not that losing that would not be anything. To me, wouldn't be anything. I get the argument for saying, oh, censorship, but when it comes to like your brain is still developing, I feel like you should have a level of censorship. There's a reason that human babies are carried like to adulthood for a longer period than most other mammals. It's partially because of that brain development. And their body development doesn't like catch up as quickly as other animals. They need that time. They need that like gestational period to really get their stuff together. And like, I feel like that's just being overlooked. In a lot of ways that society is being ran today, it's just being overlooked simply. And it sucks. It really does. I feel like people should be more, you know, more, at least more attuned to things like that, you know? That you don't have to show everything. They don't have to see everything. Not yet. Not all at once, right? That takes some time. They'll see it. You don't have to show it to them all at once, bro.
Issues. He found it difficult to manage his emotions. He started spending time with gang members in his neighborhood.
Yo.
Soon he began using substances. That's how he got involved with a local gang called the Crusaders. Warren bought from them often.
Here we go.
But his spending spiraled out of control. Before long, he owed the gang money, and they didn't take debt lightly. If he failed to pay, the consequences
How did he owe
would
them
be
money?
fatal. Desperate, Warren came up with a plan. He would rob someone to get the cash, but his choice was shocking. He targeted his own friend, Stefan. In November 2004, Warren lured
Why don't you just
Stefan
ask him
to
for the
a
money?
nearby park. He told them they were meeting girls, but there were no girls. It was a setup. This next part sounds a little bizarre. While they walked through the park, Warren allegedly
him,
went
bro.
into a trance. At least that's what he claimed. He attacked Stefan with an object. By the time Warren came to his senses, it was too late. Stefan didn't survive. 2 hours later, police arrived at the scene. Warren was arrested on the spot. He confessed almost immediately. The case made global headlines, but instead of blaming Warren, much of the public blamed Manhunt. They felt playing such a violent game messed with Warren's head. One disturbing detail fueled the outrage. The weapons Warren used in real life were the same ones used in the game. In the UK, Manhunt was pulled from store shelves. The ban quickly spread to New Zealand, Australia, and Germany. But one question remained. Was Manhunt to blame, or was Warren already headed down a destructive path? The courts put the responsibility on Warren. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 15 years. Making friends online can be dangerous.
The game definitely
This
didn't
next
help.
case proves
I'll
that.
say that. I don't know how much stuff he had going on before that, because it sounded like he started doing all that stuff around the same time, but I don't know. It kind of just looks like a product of whatever situation he was in. Like, he was just turning towards violence in general, and I think the game definitely didn't help, but I don't think it was the cause. Definitely don't think it was the cause. I think it was a symptom.
Alves Costa. Guilherme Alves Costa was an 18-year-old living in Brazil. He absolutely loved playing games online, but he wasn't just having fun on the internet. Eventually, he stumbled onto the dark web. There, he joined chat rooms where people shared violent fantasies. Guilherme was seriously influenced by this dark content. He started to have twisted thoughts as well. It was during this time that Guilherme met Ingrid. They became friends during an online Call of Duty match. Guilherme began to trust her. He confided in her about his mental struggles. Ingrid, trying to be supportive, wanted to help, but soon she realized his thoughts were far darker than she imagined. He once sent her a photo of himself holding a weapon. Another time, she asked if he would help him carry out violence in a church. One night, he sent her a weird message. You must be mine. These were serious red flags, but Ingrid saw them as cries for help. She didn't know Guilherme was spending time on dark web chat rooms that encouraged his fantasies. Eventually, they started meeting in person. Ingrid visited his home, met his mother, and played games with him. Ingrid thought Guilherme was getting better. He wasn't. He was actually getting worse. Guilherme started hearing voices in his head. He was in a very dark place. On February 22nd, 2001, Guilherme texted Ingrid. He said he was feeling sad and wanted her to visit. Ingrid agreed. She arrived around 10 a.m. The two were alone at home. They talked and played Call of Duty. At one point, they took this photo together. But around 1 p.m., Guilherme snapped. He attacked Ingrid with an object. She didn't survive. Then he took photos of the crime scene and posted them online, like he was proud of himself. Social media went into a meltdown. Police raced to Guilherme's home and arrested him. When police asked why he did it, his answer was chilling. Because I wanted to. Guilherme was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Doctors later diagnosed him with persistent delusional disorder and antisocial personality disorder. He's currently receiving psychiatric treatment behind bars.
Good, thank you.
This next gamer was the worst kind of evil.
Thank you,
Stephen McCullough. On December 18th.
Like, I'm not saying bro was like, there was obviously something messed up in his brain, bro. And like, I get that. Like, just remove him from where he can do harm. Get him some help. That's the best I can say for that situation. I'm glad they're doing it that way, because that's what a lot of these people need. They don't need to sit and rot in jail all the time. A lot of the time, what they need is actually mental help. And that's something that in America, they don't really offer in the prison system. They just throw them away and lock and throw the key away too. which I don't really agree with. I feel like, and I've said this a lot, honestly, just the prison system in general. I'm not going to go on too long of a tangent. I've already said most of what I want to say, but just like, hey, the reprimanding is one part of it, but the actual mental, like, reasons that led them to that is the other part. You can't just take the cart without the horse, right? You can't do that. The horse is the thing that you need to have. Like, the horse has a broken leg, that cart's not going to move, right? That's all I'm saying.
2022, police in Northern Ireland received a call about a crime. Someone ended 32-year-old Natalie McNally in her own home. There were no signs of forced entry. That meant Natalie likely let her killer inside. Her body was discovered by her boyfriend, Stephen McCullough. He was the one who called the police. Stephen was taken to the station for questioning, but he was quickly ruled out as a suspect. Stephen had an airtight alibi. Stephen ran a YouTube channel where he reviewed toys and collectibles.
Hello, YouTube viewers and random Doctor Who fans, or hello, friendos. I don't know how to introduce these.
He was also a gamer. And on the night of the crime, Stephen was doing a live stream playing games for 6 hours straight.
Yeah,
It's just floating.
Alright, solid. That's a good alibi right there, bro. Streaming.
The video was still up on his YouTube channel. Stephen was on camera.
Solid alibi, bro.
Apart from that,
unless
Stephen
unless he had a shadow clone jutsu, that alibi ain't going nowhere.
have a motive to hurt Natalie. They seemed like a happy couple. They were even expecting a baby together.
There's no red flags on either side of the couple. Like, they seem like they would both be amazing parents.
The investigation continued. Police dug deeper into Natalie's relationships. That's when they realized that Stephen did have a motive to harm Natalie. When investigators searched Natalie's phone, they saw strange messages. It turns out she was secretly chatting with her ex-boyfriend. Just 3 days before the incident, she exchanged 33 WhatsApp messages with that ex. Some of these messages were romantic. Detectives believed Stephen saw those messages, and he was probably mad. Now, cops had a theory.
Yo, what if he paid somebody to go and clap her while he was streaming so that he would have an alibi? That's demon time.
A jealous boyfriend who discovered his partner texting her ex. But suspicion wasn't enough. To arrest Stephen, they needed to dismantle his alibi, the live stream. At first glance, the live stream cleared Stephen, but experts noticed strange details. Throughout the video, Stephen kept reminding viewers that he was live.
Hey, and we're live. That's the fun of being live. So I just thought, why not? I'm gonna.
Does he do that on every live stream? No way he did this junk on Christmas, bro. He was streaming on Christmas and clapped somebody, bro. That's disrespectful. Come on now. On Christmas? Bro, people just trying to enjoy themselves and enjoy their families. And you gonna be out here clapping somebody?
A live stream.
He also claimed he couldn't read the chat.
Because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat. Which is a real shame.
That was unusual. Why go live if you can't interact with your viewers? Cyber experts were invited to analyze the live stream.
Yeah, he pre-recorded that and threw it up on a live. Nah, get him out of here.
Footage, and they all had the same conclusion. The stream wasn't live. Stephen recorded it days earlier and played out as if it was live. His alibi collapsed. When confronted with the evidence, Stephen admitted the truth. The stream wasn't live. His new story was that on the night of the crime, he was drinking in his house and fell asleep, but he had no witnesses to back it up. Then detectives found another piece of evidence against Stephen.
Nah, if you fake a live stream on the night someone gets killed, boy, you're gone, bro. I don't care what the rest of your alibi looks like. Dude, come on. You're guilty. Why are you faking lives while people are getting killed?
Captured a man who looked just like Stephen. The evidence was overwhelming. On January 31st, about a month after the crime, police
get him out of here, bro.
Again, his case went viral on the internet.
I think this is the only time that someone has tried to use a live stream to prove their innocence and act as a smokescreen to cover up their crimes.
Stephen pled not guilty. His trial is still scheduled for November 2025. Games can bring people together from
try him right. Nah, do it right now. Honestly, what is that, next month? Put him in jail, bro. Why are you out here streaming if you're worried about killing folks, bro? Come on now. Oh my god, even Critical, bro. Critical talking about
His case went viral on the internet.
I think this is the only
I
time
didn't
that
even
someone
see
has tried
this.
to use a live stream to prove their innocence.
What did the headline say? Oh, a
I think this
pre-recorded
is
live
the only
stream.
time
Okay.
that someone has tried to use a live stream
How
to
would you
prove their
even do
innocence
that?
and act as a smokescreen to cover up their
Would
crimes.
you like have a video and then you play the video source through OBS and you play the gameplay source as well? Honestly, if he was gonna do that low key, like I'm not saying he should do that, but if you're gonna fake a live stream, bro, at least like do it with chat, right? At least do it with chat. Like make it look good, bro. Don't be like, oh, I can't respond to chat. At least go the extra mile to like pick an irregular time, right? Not even irregular time. Just record an actual live stream with chat there. Actually, nah, cause then like his viewers would know. They'd be calling him out in chat like, yo, we saw this yesterday. This isn't live. Okay. But maybe he had like, if he made like a different channel with a different audience. I don't know. I'm not trying to get this guy to get away, but I'm saying you could be smarter than that. Honestly, I want to see him in jail because I think mentally he knew what he was doing. I don't think he's crazy. I think he had a life. He set it up. He saw something he didn't like. He lashed out. Simple as that. Yeah, I don't think. Nah, this is just a crime of passion. That's what they say, right? In law, whenever people like commit domestic violence because of like their significant other or something like that, what they call it, a crime of passion. That's
Even pled
what it was.
not guilty. His trial is still scheduled for November
Get him outta here,
2025. Games can bring people together from all over the world,
Yes,
but it
they
can also
can.
isolate you from the real world. My friends, don't let
If
a
you let it.
virtual world become more important than the life you're actually living.
Yeah, man.
Visual venture.
Yeah, visual venture,
Wait,
bro.
before you go, if you
Always
guys like
clapping,
this
man.
video, I have a video that takes...
Wait, kids? No, I don't want to. No, man, not kids, bro. Not kids. All right, with that being said, man, let me know what y'all think about this one. Oof. Go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If y'all ever, like, saw it, what kind of games do y'all be playing? Y'all ever played a game and wanted to be like, oh, snap, I'm going to go do that in real life? I imagine you guys probably aren't like that. Y'all are watching me, so y'all probably, like, y'all probably chilling, you know? Y'all probably aren't, like, at your wits' end, like, just ready to jump off a ledge, ready to just start crashing out on people. Probably not, right? I would have to imagine. Maybe you are. Maybe I help you through that. I don't know. But let me know down in the comments. Hey, that's going to be me. That's going to be the video. I'll catch you later. Bye.